From WCRS Studios in Greenwood, South Carolina, this is Meet Me at the Diner with your host, Ann Eller.
Okay, how about now? This is Ann right here on WCRS Radio. We have Sheriff Dennis Kelly here. We've had a lot of interest in this interview here this afternoon. Certainly hope that we're going to be able to answer some of the questions that people have been asking. Of course, I always have a few questions I would like to ask too. So I think we're going to start off with a few of my questions, and then if you would like to ask a question, 864-332-9355. That's 864-332-9355. So give us a call if you'd like to find out a question, see if we can get it answered. You know, law enforcement is a field that we're all interested in. Number one, for our own safety, but also the safety of our community. So, Dennis, how you doing this afternoon?
Doing great. Thank you.
It's good to have you here. Good to have you here. So we had a pedestrian death this morning.
Yes.
Within 96, I believe, right, or on the highway out there.
I was thinking it was up around Ware Shoals.
Was it? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
on US 25 around Ware Shoals.
Oh, I guess a pedestrian hit and killed. Yeah, I just had seen that on Facebook. South Carolina killed Tuesday morning. Highway patrol in a pickup. Oh, it doesn't really say. So what can you tell us about that?
Highway patrol, I believe, investigated that one. I don't have a lot of...
Highway 25
yeah, that's right. Yep.
Greenwood Avenue in Ware Shoals, just
that's
after
correct.
6:30 this morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all I know is a pedestrian out on the highway. Not sure of many of the details since Highway Patrol investigated it.
Yeah. The victim was identified by the coroner's office as 72-year-old Timothy Allen Goldman of 96. I did read somewhere that it had been ruled accidental, so I guess we'll have to wait and see what they come out with. But hard way to start the week off, the morning.
That's right.
With. Yeah. So, Dennis, I know there are so many topics that we could talk about here, but one of the reasons I wanted you to come on was to talk about some of the crime statistics. I think sometimes, I think a lot of people don't know that we actually have gangs here in Greenwood, South Carolina.
Yes, absolutely.
And I guess because we live in our little bubbles and unless we have a problem. But what can you tell us about the gangs here in Greenwood?
Yes, we have several, like we call them neighborhood gangs or local gangs, South Side Gang, East Side, and then you have your more gangs that could go national, the Bloods or the Crips. But most time their crime is just, they're property crimes. They'll break in cars, but mostly unlock cars, and of course they involved in some drug distribution and sales of drugs, but they very rarely target out, as far as the violent part, just other citizens. Their shootings is normally at each other and their assaults.
They're just trying to kill off each other. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, a lot of it's retaliation, which, we do know here in Greenwood a couple of innocent people have been struck by rounds fired from a weapon, gang-related, shooting at each other, and innocent people do get hit, but they're not normally targeted.
Why do they show up at these places? I understand the one over there at Kim's Kitchen over here was that young man that was Emerald High School. A very sad case. Yep. Right?
Mm-hmm. I think what happens is when there's a party or a gathering at a club, whether it's a special occasion or just on a holiday, I think the individuals, the way social media is, and they start doing FaceTime and showing they there, and they start flashing gang signs and stuff, and then other gang members of another gang see that that's where they are, so they proceed to that location and sometimes shoot at them.
Well, you're saying that a lot of our gangs are local. What causes somebody to get involved in a gang?
in my opinion, and with talking with some of them and looking at some statistics, it's their family they feel a part of, and then a lot of times it's just quick money. They involved in drugs, and they see these gang members driving nice cars and got cash and the jewelry kind of flashy, and that's, you got somebody that really doesn't have a lot, and it just kind of entice them and draws them into that lifestyle.
Now that's on our local gangs. Now you were telling me before we went on the air that quite often somebody ends up in jail, and they end up joining a bigger gang, a nationwide gang, I guess you would say. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most of them do. When they go into prison, they have to get affiliated with the gang for protection in there, whether it be the skinheads or white supremacists to the Bloods, the Crips, I think Folk Nation.
Those names just flow right off your tongue there, Dennis.
Well, we get a report, when they're released from prison in the county they're going to reside in, so we see a lot of those. But, I mean, anytime we have shootings, most of the time it's involving gangs, so that's how, we try to keep up with who's in the gang. We document them when they're arrested, either if they tell us or if they have tattoos. There's things, that we will put them in our system, notifying which gang they're affiliated with and their crimes, so we know who we're dealing with.
Do you try to separate people from opposite gangs in prison? This is just a question off the top of my head.
Yes, absolutely, because if other gang members in there, they will retaliate in the facility, even on the county level to the state or federal level, they will. So if they're documented gangs, you would keep them separated so you don't have fights.
Well, how... Now, I mean, I know this is a subjective question, but how bad are the gangs here in Greenwood?
I mean, anytime you have gang activity, it's not a good thing, but like I say, their crimes, like I say, is a lot of times aimed at each other, retaliation, but, no shooting's good, and then some people get shot, but at least they hadn't branched out and just started.
A few years ago, it was pretty bad here in Greenwood. I can remember when we had, it was a big question about what we were going to do about these gangs. I know a lot of people got involved, and then I'm not sure it really, quote, went anywhere. Can you attribute any of the things to any changes that we're seeing here in Greenwood?
Yeah, well, I think, school systems involved in trying to keep these young people, active and keep them involved in activities to hopefully keep them out of gang activity, sports, course, band, whatever, activity they could keep them tied up and give them something to do. And even the Greenwood Promise gives them some hope. If they, graduate, they can go and get a degree, that doesn't cost them anything. I think there's several things that contributed, but one big thing as far as the law enforcement side is the cameras that are out there now. People have blink cameras or ring cameras, and we have flock cameras out there, and it has helped us solve a lot of crimes. And so I think that's the
It seems to me that crimes quite often get solved very quickly.
Yeah, a lot of them, it is. A lot of them. Some of them we have to work, and it takes time to get them when citizens doesn't come forth with information that saw the crime committed, or if they're not on camera committing a crime, it kind of slows down the investigation. But eventually, usually, not always, people eventually come forward and, give us just a lead of who it might be, and we can start looking at that area and then end up solving the crime.
Now, how do you think drugs are in Greenwood, South Carolina, in the county?
Yes, I think we have a big, it's still probably the two most is meth and fentanyl. We call them the blue pills, is still, prevalent. I think it's calmed down some, but at one time we were one of the highest in the state for overdoses. And
Greenwood, South Carolina?
Yep, we were. And there again, I think with the a lot of the places in Greenwood, community, the hospital, the Palmetto Health, there's a lot of people involved now trying to get people help with their addiction, and I think that's starting to help some.
Right, but I guess then, if you've got that, then you must have dealers.
Yep, that's what I say. A lot of the gang members dealing, and you have just independent people out there dealing, and we have a drug unit that investigates those calls. When we get overdoses, we try to get the people help, but we also try to find out where they're getting the drugs and try to arrest the dealers.
Sure. Well, do you think that we're getting ahead of it? Do you think that President Trump, with his closing the border, has made any difference? What are you thinking on some of
Yes,
that?
I think all that goes into play in helping, cut back on it. We've never seen anything like this, like the fentanyl, before with crack, even cocaine, marijuana, the meth. You didn't OD like you do on this fentanyl, and it was something we'd never seen this many people overdose before. But yeah, all that that's coming in over our borders, definitely a part of increasing the overdoses. And with all those things, I think all that will help reduce it.
Are we seeing that as reduction here in Greenwood?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've made some arrests, and a lot of those people were meeting cartel in Atlanta, different places, to get the drugs, bringing them back to Greenwood.
Well, over the last year or so, you've had some pretty big drug busts that you've been working with the feds on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And,
Yeah, we work with any federal agency, state agencies, whatever. We all work together. Cities here in our community, we work together. Neighboring counties and cities, we work together. So we share information between agencies to link these individuals when we make arrests, and it helps eventually track and find these individuals that are dealing these drugs.
This is just a question. I mean, and this is totally off the topic, but, I understand that you cannot go into the post office or UPS to see if a drug shipment is coming in. Is that true?
Well, we have to work with the postmasters, and some are more cooperative than others. And but yeah, we can. We work with them, and some of them are helpful, and some of them not so helpful. Yeah.
Okay, I thought you had to have a real warrant or something to go in, or not necessarily.
Yeah, well, they can get the postmaster, and they can get the documentation, and if we have evidence, and work with them and get a warrant. To
you don't take drug dogs in there and just sniff out the post office and see if you got any drugs in this post office here today.
No, we normally, and residents will notice a vacant house or something where packages are getting delivered to, and that's normally what it is. And so
An
we'll
empty
track
house and packages show up.
That's right, yeah. And so sometimes we'll track some packages like that and end up with some information on somebody mailing drugs in.
Well, do you think that Greenwood as an area, is there a way to reduce the amount of drug activity, or is it just try to maintain what we have?
Well, like I say, I think arresting the dealers is huge, but one big thing is getting people that are addicted rehab and get them off of the drugs, which would cut down on the dealers, money making.
Right.
So that'd be huge to get those individuals off the drugs.
But isn't there always a new crop that comes along?
And it could be. And like I say, that's why we're trying to do a lot of education, the churches, the schools, civic groups about drugs, and trying to teach young people. We have the school resource officers, and they talk to these young people and may have classes they go into, to talk about these things. So hopefully, that these young people will not get on the drugs, but they're out there for sure. A lot of temptation.
Remember when they used to have on TV the commercials? This is your brain without drugs. This is your brain, and it showed a scrambled cracked egg and everything.
Yeah, that's right.
All those things. I thought those were really pretty effective to show you your brain scrambled on drugs versus your brain not. And Just Say No. That was a pretty successful campaign.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people just going through a lot of issues, personal issues, and for whatever reason they start out maybe marijuana a lot, and then they end up with stronger drugs, just trying to forget whatever trauma they've endured in their life, whether it be young or later on in life, trying to, I guess, dull the pain.
Right. Yeah. Well, trauma is a big part for a lot of people. Well, how many people would you say that are involved in gangs here in Greenwood County? You have any idea?
I don't have a specific number, but a few years ago had them do a gang book to list and document all the gang members, so my guys out on the street, when they could look through this book, and when they entertain or ran into somebody, they would look in the book if they thought they might be or recognize the names. We know most of the names of the main gang members and the main ones we think's doing the shootings.
Got their dance card, huh?
Yeah, that's right. So we try to keep them informed like that. So when they dealing with these individuals, they kind of give them a tip on what they need to be looking for, drugs and weapons.
So how much do you think we have? I mean, roughly.
You talking about number of gangs or total number of members?
Total number of members.
I'd be a guess. I'd hate to tell you. I may be way off if I just guessed. I could find out
okay.
how many we got documented in the system, but I don't know right off the top of my head.
I'm a documented gang member.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something to be proud of, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, they do. They put the tattoos on. They do. They flash the signs. They wear the colors, whether it be red, blue, green, whatever color associated with their gang. That's how they identify.
Sure, exactly. Well, I just we were talking about earlier before we came on the air about Greenwood County and how it, as far as crime, stacked up against the state. You had some statistics and stuff there. What can you tell us about the crime statistics?
Yes, we do pretty good here in Greenwood. We're not on the highest. We didn't make the highest list in any of the crime or the increases, where it be the violent crime, the thefts, and we're not in the lowest, but we're not in the high, so we probably mid-range as far as the crime rate. But we have went down in some of the murders and some of the significant areas. We down.
Yeah, I think I tried to look up some drug crime measured at about 4.85 per 1,000 residents in city. By the state, it says marijuana and other drug violations remain common categories statewide, with drug law violations a sizable portion of the arrests. Gang activity not prominent in publicity available, but it is, of course, documented across the state. And then it says something here, Dennis. It says Greenwood crime rate higher than national averages in many categories. This was on violent property and crime comparison. I just was curious. It says on a rate basis there were 3,800 total crimes per 100,000 people in Greenwood. So just some of the interesting facts here as we try to get a handle on how we can do this. So if crime is what it is, how does your staff, how do you have enough staff to cover it? Do we need more staff? I know one can always say, we can always use more staff.
Right.
But what is your feeling? I remember a few years ago, our coverage for the number of square miles that we have was pretty sketchy. I mean, pretty slight. Mm-hmm. How are you think things are now? Have you been able to increase or?
We hadn't increased in number of deputies in a while. We request some every year in the budget. We haven't gotten any slots available to us so far. But
how many years have you been requesting?
Since I've been sheriff, we've been requesting a few each year. I think requested 4 or 5 this year. I think it would help us, like I say, to go on calls. Why? Like we discussed earlier, some calls takes 2-3 officers on one call, so that leaves other parts of the county, not covered. So, and then of course you got annual leave, sick leave, people's out on workers' comp. So, if you at the kind of minimum officers you need, and then you got officers out, yep, that's right.
Makes you short.
Mm-hmm. So it would definitely help, I think, as far as the patrol. And like I say, it's huge for the community to be a part in solving these crimes and telling us what they see and that doesn't look right. And it helps us with our investigations when they give us information. So the public plays just as much part in it as the officers do.
Do you think there's been a change in the willingness of the public to help with crimes?
A little bit. Sometimes in the areas where the gangs are, a lot of people live in those communities, and the gang members know who they are, and they're not as forthcoming. We have some that will give us information later, so it's not known who give us information. But pretty much in Greenwood, since I've been here in law enforcement, the community's always been supportive and come forth with information for the most part. There's just a few areas of town that they wouldn't give information, but most parts they're willing to give you information on what they saw, what kind of vehicle, what the person, description of the person. So it's very helpful.
And how important is it that the community be involved in it?
Yeah, a lot of crimes we'd never solve if it wasn't for the community to give us information and leads on what we need to look into.
Yeah, so it is very, very important. So I've got a thing up here that says South Carolina's violent and property crime rates have been declining in recent years, with violent crime down roughly 8 to 9% and property crime down nearly 12%. That's across the state.
Mm-hmm.
So that is better. So that's good. But this gun violence thing, I mean, we've had 2 shootings since the first of the year, right? I mean, at least one, and one was right at the end of the year, if it wasn't. That one on Hall Street, which is in the city, I know, but still.
Yep. Gun violence, and a lot of them are stolen guns out of unlocked vehicles that these gang members obtain. And then a lot of times they have friends or family members that'll go purchase a weapon for them because the gang member can't purchase a weapon. So a lot of times people are buying weapons for them and giving them to them. That's how they're getting the weapons. But for whatever reason, a lot of people now, these young people, they get mad or retaliate and they use weapons. Now, I don't know how they got that frame of mind, but that's what they do now.
And, you know, it really would be a simple thing. If you're going to leave a gun or something valuable in your car, how about lock it, right?
Yeah, lock it out of sight. They will break into a vehicle. Sometimes they'll break the ones out if they see a weapon or see something valuable that they can get that we can't track. A gun's a little different. If they see those, they'll bust the window out, because most cars now, the alarm will go off, so they don't want to draw attention. So they just go around, pull door handles on cars, and if it's unlocked, they get in there and ram them. A lot of people have their handguns or rifles and shotguns in their cars, which get stolen quite frequent.
Well, that sounds like something through education that we could make a difference. Or don't leave it in your car, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. Why do people leave them in their car, do you think, Dennis?
I'm not sure. Some of them, if they travel, they go to work, they don't want to carry the weapon in and out of the house every day. They just leave it in the car if they're not going to carry it on their person, is one reason. Some people, if they're going hunting or come home from hunting, and they just don't think to get them out, or just think their car's not going to get broken into, and then they do. Because these individuals, a lot of these gangs, they ride around and they just go into neighborhoods and they'll drop a few individuals out and go around door to door just pulling on door handles, and that's where they find and unlock cars and get these weapons.
So then, but is it making a difference with all the people, though, with Ring and Blink and all these different doorbell systems?
It does, and that's how we solve a lot of them. We'll get a description of a car. A lot of times we might not can identify the person sometimes, but with it being dark and the clothing, but we can get even if we don't have a tag number or a specific make or model of a car, we can punch that into the cameras in our system and find cars around that time when the break-ins were happening, and we can locate sometimes a car on our flock cameras and get a tag number, and then that gives us a lead to
process of elimination.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's one topic that we wanted to talk about. Now, another one is we seem to have had some questions come in about how do you know whether a crime is something that should be, what shall we say, should be arrested, or is it civil versus criminal? How do we know? Because we've had several questions come in about that.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes crimes that are criminal use intent to defraud or
steal.
Yeah, steal, or injure someone, but sometimes it's like if you let somebody you let borrow something, they don't bring it back, or if you have a business deal with somebody, whether it's work at your house to whatever, then most time that's going to end up being civil. And a lot of times businesses, if they have a a contract or a policy on about buying and selling and returns. A lot of times, people feel like they got their money taken, they didn't get merchandise, but sometimes it depends on the policies they have, return policies that could play into effect, to whether it's criminal or civil.
Well, who makes that determination? Who makes that determination as far as it being criminal or civil?
Well,
when an officer is called to the scene to answer questions, how does this supposed to come down?
The officer, of course, he takes report. If anybody thinks they've had a crime committed against them, they call us and we go out and do a report. And the initial officer, he looks at the evidence he's got and he determines if he can. If he's not sure, he can contact a supervisor and get some information from him. And then if not, we take what we have to the magistrate or judge and give them the facts that we have. And sometimes they tell us, yeah, I think you could go criminal on that. And then sometimes they tell us, no, that's civil.
So you were just saying that if somebody just loans somebody something, gives something to somebody to use for a period of time and they don't return it, that's going to come down to a civil discussion.
It could. Just depends on the circumstances.
It could be criminal too?
Sometimes it could. It just depends on the circumstances, on who it is, and if they, if they borrowed it but it was back and they came back after hours and took it. It just depends on the circumstances. With each individual case, is individual, and you have to make a determination on what facts you get.
Can an officer make a decision about a crime right then and there? I mean, can he be standing there discussing this and saying, "Okay, you're going in, and you stand in the corner over there, whatever"? Yeah,
if an officer has probable cause, he can absolutely make an arrest. If he has probable cause that a crime's been committed.
Okay, all right. Well, that was one thing that came in as a discussion point. Another is about precious metals, and I remember when we had sharp facets, we had to get a license from the city to be able to buy gold and silver. Now, I wasn't sure about the county, but we did have somebody that asked if you could ask the sheriff about how they plan to handle non-permitted precious metals and gemstone buyers in our county. Being that gold and silver is an all-time high, I am permitted and legal in the county, and I see people all the time on Facebook presenting themselves as licensed buyers, but they are in fact not. As a citizen and a permitted business, who do I report this to?
If they think it's a crime, they can call us and we'll make a report, and then we'll, determine if there's a crime been committed. But as far as the licensing, on the sheriff's office side of the county, we don't have anything to do with where people are licensed. And one advice I'd give, if they on Facebook and you can't verify that they're licensed dealer or authorized to sell by, I wouldn't deal with them. I'd make sure I went to a authorized dealer.
A legitimate dealer.
That's
one
right.
that has is licensed within
that's
the
right.
city. Well, I mean, there are a lot of, I'll say, people that maybe don't have a business. They're not, they're just offering to meet you and buy stuff. That sounds a little sketchy to begin with, right?
Yeah, well, it could be. And they could be just somebody that has some, they want to sell it, and they legitimately own it. But we try to tell people to meet, and they can even come to the sheriff's office, and meet there at the sheriff's office to buy or trade or make, and hopefully somebody wouldn't come up there if they're not legit. There would be some kind of deterrent, but now some of these thieves are pretty bold, so it may not deter all of them.
Yeah, we just did a deal in the sheriff's office, and we got out of it. Okay, all right. Well, that's one possibility. So there is no licensing in the county. It's just in the city. Is that right?
To my knowledge, yeah. Like I say, the sheriff's office doesn't handle. We do permits to go to the recycle centers. We issue those permits.
Right?
That's right. That's
right.
That's
different. And why do you have to have a permit to send stuff to go to the landfills?
Right, because a lot of people would steal they go to houses and steal the copper, businesses steal air units, radiators, cut catalytic converters off vehicles. And so this way we can keep track. People have get a permit, and at each facility where they go, they have to show that permit, and what they bring in is documented. So then when we get a report of thefts, and then we can go to these recycle facilities and check to see if these certain items have been recycled there, and then we have a picture of them and their name and their permit, so then we can go and do an investigation on those individuals.
Okay. But you don't believe for like gold and
No.
silver, there's not anything, because I mean there's pretty extensive on the city's website about what you have to do. I don't know how much it costs now. I remember back when we had to do it, it was like $50, and actually they implemented that during the time that we were in. We had sharp facets somewhere along the way. That became a thing, and they did this. Says any business or principal within the corporate limits of the city of Greenwood is required to submit an application to the Greenwood Police Department. South Carolina state law requires that anyone buying or selling gold, silver, or platinum in the state must have a permit from their local jurisdiction in order to conduct business. Well, don't you have people in the county that are businesses? We have businesses in the county.
Right.
The persons responsible for the business are required to submit an application and undergo a background check prior to permitted for business. The application should list all persons who will be conducting the business on behalf of the company. South Carolina state law also requires that a $50 permit fee be paid annually by the applicant. And so if this is for the state, if a business is in the county, how do we deal with that?
Whatever permit or ever how
I
they
mean, do you
do
have
it.
a permitting system in the county, or are you saying that
Yeah.
the county government might have
Yeah,
one?
they might have it. Don't on the sheriff's side.
Because I think when I did this, we actually went to the office right across. Isn't there the police office? Didn't they have an office right across from where you pay your CPW and everything? Didn't they have an office there? That's where I think you went to
Yeah.
do this permit for the city.
Right.
I don't know about now,
Yeah.
but I'm just talking
Yeah,
about
that's where you
back
used
then.
to go. I
Yeah.
guess you still go there.
Yeah. But you don't have something like that for the county? Not that you know of? No. Okay. Well, then I don't know how somebody that's in the county would have a permit if there's not one process here in our county, right?
Right.
Interesting. All right. Well, so the city is just for the city. The county is a different animal, I guess, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, we are here with Sheriff Dennis Kelly. We've got a lot more to talk about. We've got an update on the jail. We want to get into that. If you have a question, 864-332-9355. Please send me a message, and we'll see if we can't get it on the show here this afternoon. We are going to hear a word from our sponsors. If you are on Facebook Live, you will... what will you do? You'll be listening to some music. If you are with us right here on the radio, you of course will hear the commercials. So we'll be right back. Don't you go away. right back here on WCRS Radio. I'm Ann Eller. Today, my very special guest is Dennis Kelly. We are talking about all things having to do with the sheriff's office. And I just, okay, let's see what I got here. Okay. Dealers in precious metals. Okay. Okay. So, from South Carolina, state of South Carolina. Okay, this is coming from the South Carolina. This is to certify company has been issued a permit in the state of South Carolina to engage in the business of purchasing precious metals at their location, which is in the county, in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 54, Title 40 of the South Carolina Code of Laws. Now, I guess my question would be, right, well, how is this monitored? So I don't think you're telling me you don't have any records or anything of this from the state or anything?
Not the sheriff's office.
The sheriff's office doesn't have any records or anything. Well, it seems like there should be, just like you were saying, when the state allows you on gun permit, somebody gets a gun permit, even though it's federal, it comes back through to the sheriff's office.
Well,
right?
if they're a dealer, they send us that information that whoever has a license to sell, buy weapons, it comes to us, so we have the information. Even if they purchased a silencer or different things for weapons that's covered under federal law, they send us that just for our information.
Sure,
Yep.
Sure. Well, it seems like you would have that, right? I mean, it would seem.
Yeah.
Because somebody has
right.
to. I mean, who's the arbitrator, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing the state, but.
Yeah, so you're saying that somebody might have to. Well, that would be an interesting thing. I think we need to find out more information,
I'll
don't
be
we?
Checking on that one. Yes, ma'am.
We're checking on that one right now. This is a good discussion here this afternoon because we're talking about some of the things, and sometimes when you're having a discussion, you find a loophole, right? That's there that you didn't know that was there. So this could be a good conversation. So Dennis, we're here with Sheriff Dennis Kelly this afternoon. He is checking that out. We're going to try to get that information before 6. We may not, but we'll get an update from him. So, how is the jail? How is the jail, Dennis?
It's still the same. We trying to keep it going. I think we do pretty good with what we got to deal with. It's more so the design of it that needs to be corrected for officer safety and inmate safety.
What are you saying? That the jail that we have doesn't work in today's world?
It's different. It puts officers in different situations there in a detention center that could be eliminated with the new design of the facilities they have now, with newer technology and just the visibility of the inmates and the control of the inmates. I just think our facility's outdated. Now,
when was that jail built?
I think it was open, in 1976.
1976. That was a good while ago.
Yes, it was.
So, well, we got kind of into this situation with the jail during the last capital sales tax.
Correct.
And what was determined out of that was, number one, you had funding from the 2016 to do, expenses and modifications to what needs to be done. They had Detention Center 2016 from the capital sales tax funding was $429,939. You have spent so far of that $421,097.74. You have $8,800, a little over $8,800 left. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes. So, but again, we're spending money to keep something going, which we have to do. I know in this last capital sales tax for 2024, I believe it was, you got money to do a study Wasn't that what it was for?
That's correct.
When the money comes through, I believe it was somewhere halfway through the capital sales tax period that would be funded.
Right.
But we don't have, we still don't. Let me just ask you something. Let me just ask you, somebody that works in the jail, has people underneath him working in the jail, can you unequivocally say that we could just refurbish that jail, or do we need a new jail, Dennis?
Yes, absolutely. I would think you would need a new facility. Just fixing it, patching it is what we continue to do. I just think technology and the new design of detention facility would benefit.
What is the new design versus what we have now? What do we have right now?
Right now, you can't see every wing, every unit. You got cameras looking, but the new facilities has, I call it the tower, and where they monitor, open the doors, can see every wing of every unit. There's not you don't have officers way off down in another unit by themselves monitoring inmates. You can monitor them a lot from the tower. You can open doors from there, which you can do that now, open some doors, but like I say, a lot of our doors break, and some of that funding, a lot of it we use to fix doors, fix showers, toilets, a lot of things like that. And I just think it would be a lot safer for the officers and the inmates, and it would also, I think, help recruiting officers to work in the facility with the updated facility.
Now, do you have enough people working in the jail to cover all the shifts the way they should be covered?
And we use overtime, we use other employees to help. Sometimes if needed, we have actual road deputies that will go back and assist in the detention. But I believe I'm about 10 officers short as of today.
That's a lot, isn't it?
It is.
I mean,
It is. Yep.
That's a lot.
It is. So that's why we have to use other personnel. Sometimes we use administrative personnel to do some of the administrative stuff that normally an officer would do back in the detention, just to cover the shortage.
Well, and I think you were telling me before we went on the air that the condition of the jail is not enticing to get people to work.
That's right. Yeah, if you had a new facility and officers, you can show them the new safety features. I think it would help in recruiting and retaining the officers.
And so question. Right now, the jail is, of course, right there in uptown Greenwood. One of the things that has been spoken about is the non-safety of having the trains running right there. If there was a derailment or something, it would be a problem. Do we have an area where a new jail could be built?
They looked at several properties, that we could, but I don't know of one that was designated specifically for it.
Right. Well, I know they bought out there off of, they've bought another facility, that church.
Yep, church on Deadfall.
Deadfall.
Right there at Deadfall and Airport.
Right. Mm-hmm. So they have kind of expanded out that way.
Right.
But we're on, a 7-year cycle on the monies. I mean, we could be another 10 years before we end up with a jail. And then it's questionable whether the county will see fit to do this, right?
Yeah, hopefully the county will get a plan together, because at some point, I feel, my personal view is they're going to have to replace the facility. So need to get a plan going.
So I think they're going to start working on a strategic plan for the county, is what I've heard.
Yeah. That's what I heard.
They've hired somebody to do that job anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah. But a couple other sheriffs I talked to in their counties back this last time, they put that on their referendum, and it passed in their county for the sales tax to go toward a new facility. But
the problem is that has to be moved forward from your your committees that say that a jail should be, and then it's put on the ballot. So they must have felt it was that important to put it on the ballot, and then the whole referendum passed, right?
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. So, but I don't think the sheriff's jail even made it past committee, did it?
It did not.
Did not.
Yeah.
So, that I think is something. If you ever want to go and see that, quote, the jail is not that bad, Just go walk through it. It's a scary. It really. I mean, for me, it was a scary place to visit. I mean, I'm glad I went and everything, but it was scary.
Right.
You didn't feel. I mean, yes, I felt comfortable because I had officers there with me, but you could see a lot of the problems as far as like you're talking about, like you see on TV, those jails where they can stand back and they can see everything, right? And these jails you cannot.
Right. Yeah, we did a lot of work with this. Like I say, just things that are hazardous to the inmates and the officers. Could be replacing tile. Those inmates are in there 24/7, and they're destructive on a lot of things.
They don't really care, do they?
That's right.
They don't really care. It's not like it's their place to be.
That's right. And it's open 24/7, and so they around the clock are trying to tear up stuff, destroy stuff, figure out how to manipulate the locks and some of the things. And that's why we had to replace a lot of the locks on the doors down in the B unit, because the inmates could just kick the doors and finally get them open and get out of their cell. So that's what some of that money was spent on.
Sure.
To fix those door locks.
New flooring contract, $245,000. Shower heads. What were some of the old water tank removal? $2,000. I mean, it just goes on and on. Security cameras, $21,000. I mean, at some point you have to say that the cost of repair does not equal what. I mean, this right here, you spent $421,000 for upkeep. How much of that could have been put towards a new jail? At some point you have to make that decision, right?
Right. That's in my belief. I think they're going to have to come up with some kind of plan to replace it.
Are we in state and federal compliance?
We do. You have a valuation each year by the state to come in, and that the corrections that need to be done or the things they see is sent to the county council and to myself. And that's what some of those things are, is things on that list that we corrected and fixed with that money.
So when they came through and found things that were a problem.
Right.
But, and I can remember a few years ago, I mean, it's probably been more than a few years ago, but I can remember at one point we had so many people in the jail, they were talking about, the feds came in, didn't they, and said that we need to, this I think was before you were, at the sheriff there, but they were talking about overcrowding. Do we ever have any problem with overcrowding, Dennis, now?
We hadn't as of late. I think we had about 200 inmates today. Might have been 208 maybe today.
What is that jail rated for?
I think it's like 242. But we have been over that since I've been the sheriff.
Sure.
We have been over that. It was I think it was originally rated for like 260, and then we did some renovations and closed off area or whatever. But then there was a new pod or unit built down the newest section, so which increased it as well. But right now they classify as like 242, if I'm not mistaken. It's right there.
And do we have a women's part there and a men's part?
We do. Yeah,
or
we
have
house
co-ed, or do we just have co-ed there, Dennis?
No, we don't do co-ed. That would really cause a problem. Yeah, we got them separate.
You got them separate.
We do.
Okay. All right. Well, I just thought I'd ask. Well, I know that is a topic that I think a lot of people are very passionate about. Seeing that, number one, it's a safety for our officers, not safety for our officers, also safety for the people. Now, what about the asbestos? Do we have any problem with that?
They did some testing, and they came through and put up some signs, not to disturb the walls and different things, or not.
Wait a minute, not to disturb the walls?
Yeah, that was part in Park Plaza as well, and I think, it was one reason.
Well, they got a big thing going on over there at Park Plaza now, Dennis.
They do, yeah. So, I don't know. They went around and tested all the areas, all the county properties, and detected there could possibly be some, so.
Well, I would think, regardless, I don't think I'd want to work in an area that had potential of asbestos, right?
Right. Yep.
And then you're putting inmates in there. So, anyways, it's a topic. I know we're running out of time here, but I think the detention center is an important thing. I do want you to know, Dennis, we've had some comments come in here about thanking you for the job that you do. So that's good. I think that is great. We've had several of those come in here. And, okay, I just go back to, this is a message that I missed from one of our avid texters here. He said, I've seen gangs spray paint their signs like MOB, is that one? M-O-B, ADB, and LO1 on abandoned buildings like the old theater on Kirksey Drive and Matthews Mill Village. Do we have some activities down there?
Yeah, they go around and they'll paint their gang signs. We even had them in businesses and restrooms. They'll go in and leave their sign, their mark on the walls and restrooms sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it certainly destroys your community to see that type of thing, doesn't it?
It does. It's not a good thing, but hopefully we can keep working in those areas and make the proper arrest and deter crime in those areas and those gangs. But hopefully we can reach these young people before they get into gangs, keep them involved in churches and school activity to keep them out of these gangs.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Dennis, is there anything else you would like to tell us here this afternoon?
I personally appreciate the citizens in Greenwood. They're very law enforcement supportive. The majority are, and we couldn't do our job without the citizens that are concerned about their community, and I hope we all continue to work together to make it a better place.
And they should reach out and call you if they need to, right?
Absolutely. If they have any concerns, they can call me.
What's the number to call you, Dennis?
It's 864-943-8307.
8307. So call Dennis if this conversation has piqued your interest about asking about more things. Please do that. I do think that waiting another 10 years for a jail is going to be an awful long time. I think, how long does it take to build a jail? Just, do you have any idea?
We talked about it. It would definitely probably take a couple years.
And it's my understanding, if I remember this, because I was pretty involved in this, some people will say, yes, you were, Ann, that there's only, one or two companies that are able to build jails. Is that right?
Yes, they have to be familiar with the South Carolina Code, the PREA laws that dictates policies in facilities. So for us to sign them on to build a facility, they would have to fit that criteria.
That criteria.
Yep.
So, and there aren't that many in the state that do that.
That's right.
Yeah. So that is another issue. If you don't get on the list here, I could see that being a problem. Anyways, I think working towards a jail is something that county councils should definitely put on their strategic plan. And sooner rather than later, I think that is something. I know that there is some money in the state that they're looking at just across the state. They're getting very law enforcement involved. Whether there's any money for jail or not, I'm not sure. But we need to not wait on this till a time where somebody gets hurt, killed, or otherwise.
Right, I agree.
All right, well, we have been here with Sheriff Dennis Kelly. Thank you so much for coming out and giving us some of this information. It's been a long time. It's good to sit down and chat again.
Yep, it's good to see you.
Absolutely. This is WCRS. We are going to say the show has ended, and we will play the closing. Thanks so much. I will be back in the morning. This is WCRS Radio.